If you look back at the entire season, there's 3 big wins for the Cowboys. They rolled the Vikings. Impressive. They also took a 17-3 lead on Joe Burrow, second game of the year. Almost lost it, but Burrow was coming off a major surgery, didn't play in the preseason. And the Bengals in week 2 outplayed them in the second half, but they did win. And the third win is over Gardner Minshew. Not being cynical, the rest of the schedule is Dallas beating the dregs of the NFL and the Giants and the Commanders. That's sort of what they've been doing for 15 years. Now, they did roll the Vikings, but this is not college football. Atlanta rolled the Niners, the Colts beat the Chiefs, and Zach Wilson this year beat the Bills. So that's the NFL. Couple last year, I think it was it last year, the number 1 seeded Titans got rolled in New York against the Jets. So they beat Minnesota. It's Minnesota's worst game of the year. If the Cowboys win next week, they're going to go 13-4. And my guess is Philadelphia beats the Saints, and they'll be a wild card team. And I do think they'll win a playoff game. I didn't feel I learned a ton last night, but a win's a win. It's something.
What did you make of the center going down? That did not look like a good injury. That's a multi-week ankle injury.
Not great. Again, if it happened 3-4 weeks ago, you'd feel better. But this is not a Dallas team. There's a reason they kicked the tires on OBJ. This is a Dallas team that's very dependent on Micah Parsons being great. DeMarcus Lawrence was good last night. Tony Pollard having a couple of big hits. CeeDee Lamb has got to be big. Dak has to throw about 34 to 35 times a game max. There is a way they win, but fairness, they just beat Philadelphia in a wildly emotional divisional game. Here was Mike McCarthy after.
This wasn't a clean performance. We recognize that. I mean, I'm not disputing that at all. I mean, but I do know my football team. I know what they came out of a hard victory on Sunday, and it took them a little longer to get their bodies back. But that's what Thursday night football is. I mean, it's a tough bet. It's a tough challenge when you have to go on the road and all those things. So, but most important thing was we answered the bell and we got it done.
Jason McIntyre with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
From an average quarterback in Dak, let's go to a good one. In Patrick Mahomes, he needs 280 passing yards to hit the 5,000 mark this season.
Without Tyreek Hill.
Indeed. If he hits it, it will be the second time in his career he's thrown for at least 5,000 yards in a season. He would be just the third player to do it more than one season in NFL history, joining Tom Brady, who did it twice. And do you want to guess the guy who did it 5 times? Recent retirement.
Drew Brees.
There you go. Nicely done. Yeah, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Pretty good company here.
If Dan Marino played today, he'd do it a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Matt Stafford should have made that list. Didn't he chuck for 1,000,000 yards in Detroit a ton of times? Yeah, Patrick Mahomes inside track to win the MVP, especially if Hurts doesn't go. Colin, are they going to get to an AFC championship again this year?
I think so. Buffalo. This is something I've been on for years. It's hard to get to a World Series with a bad bullpen. It's hard to get to the Super Bowl with a bad O-line. And Buffalo, for 4 years, has been trying to figure out this O-line. They bail on their running game often. They become very Josh Allen, make a great play dependent. And I just think the Chiefs are a little more balanced and the Bengals are a little more balanced, and that would be my guess. I think the Chargers are a little bit of a wild card. They match up with Kansas City very well.
Yes, we definitely know that.
We've seen them go toe-to-toe with Kansas City multiple times, and Herbert.
I think Herbert beat up on Burrow pretty badly last year in Cincinnati. But it's not out of the realm that the Bengals get the number 1 seed.
That's right.
In the AFC. AFC's wild at the top. Next up, not great news here. Christian Watson got that hip injury last week against the Dolphins. He was expected to practice Thursday, but he did not. So it's unclear if he's going to go. Not practicing for 2 straight days. Watson has been a game changer in the second half of the season.
Jason, if you take him out of the offense, they don't have a big play guy.
Very limited, yeah. I don't know what – I mean, Romeo Doubs, I think, is one of the league leaders in drop passes this season.
This is why I took the Vikings this weekend. I think the Vikings have the ability to score kind of cheap and easy points over the top. I just don't – Green Bay, for the first time in Aaron Rodgers' career, has a way to win. It's got to be low scoring. They're not winning shootouts now with this team.
And, I dove into this on my podcast. If you really look at that second half against Miami, Colin,
it was just
Tua was concussed and throwing to directly to Packers.
Yeah.
3 passes. That's how they came back and won that game. Short fields.
They were getting controlled.
First half, they were getting blown off. I mean, they were explosive plays. You wonder, Justin Jefferson, if he has a monster game this weekend against Jair Alexander. By the way, he was running his mouth. Did you see the interview he did after they? Oh yeah, I saw this interview. Pretty funny stuff. But be careful running your mouth against Justin Jefferson. He will light you up. Final story. It's just kind of like the underplayed story here in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, Colin, still hasn't returned to practice.
What do we make of this?
3 missed games, and one of the most prominent NFL reporters was saying he's going to expect it to return December 24th. Lamar's not even practicing. Okay, it's this knee injury. OC Greg Roman says Lamar is doing well and working out to get back as soon as possible, but you can't rush Mother Nature. I don't even know what that means. Colin, we're a couple weeks away from the playoffs and potentially seeing Tyler Huntley at starting quarterback for the Ravens.
Well, what's interesting is I don't follow Baltimore media that closely.
Yeah,
are they reporting anything on this?
They got nothing.
That's their
this is a tight organization right from the top. They're not a lot of leaks.
It's always had a New England feel. Like nothing gets out. It's very much covert. That's a well-run business. Yeah. You don't get a lot of nonsense out there on the street.
I don't want to play, weirdo, superstitious guy, but Lamar Jackson was looking for a contract from Baltimore, a big one. Didn't get it. Now he's hurt with a knee injury.
I don't know.
You don't mess with knee injuries. We saw Kyler go down. He got his money, so he's not concerned.
No, I get it.
If you're Lamar Jackson's agent, his mom, what are you saying? Hey, let's just shut it down, Lamar. Let's dial it back.
Well, especially if the knee's really hurt. Of course, that's what you do.
A lot of mystery here in Baltimore. They're not winning a playoff game without Lamar Jackson. It's just not happening. The defense is good, but the offense is anemic. They can't move the football.
J-Mac with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
All right, major college football games tomorrow. We're just beating everybody up. And then they started having this quarterback, Andrew Luck, who, like Harbaugh, big and physical and like to get tackled and like to run into people. And a lot of times when I watch football, there's a big difference. I see this with defensive coaches a lot, that their teams are just calling plays. The Chargers and the Bills have great quarterbacks. What's their offensive identity? They're just calling plays. And, the Chargers with Justin Herbert and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, you can score points that way. But the Chargers should average far more points. Buffalo, they can't get their offensive line right. It's been like 5 years. Their running game, they bail on it. I feel like Buffalo's just calling plays. Yet Minnesota with an offensive coach, or even McVay with now Baker Mayfield, or Lincoln Riley at USC, I see what they're trying to do. There's an identity or a style, Andy Reid and Mahomes. It's not always teams with great quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield's not great, but I can see what they're doing with him with Sean McVay. And that's the thing that I always think Harbaugh doesn't get credit for. He creates an identity. Stanford, Niners, Michigan, teams get very physical, very fast. Now, I do think it is harder to build speed as a northern climate team, a Michigan, a Penn State, a Notre Dame. It's colder weather. The fast teams, it seems like the LSUs and the USCs and the Oklahomas tend to be in warmer weather. Kids are outside more. Maybe that's it. I don't know what it is, but there just seems to be more speed in a lot of Southern college football I watch. I don't know. So it took Brian Kelly a while to make Notre Dame not only big and physical but fast, and it's taken Jim Harbaugh a while. It's the fastest Michigan team I've ever seen. But J.J. McCarthy's his quarterback, and he talked about his relationship with Coach Harbaugh.
It's definitely like a father-son relationship. I mean, he treats every single one of his players like his own. And it's a little bit special when it's the quarterback because obviously he played here in the same shoes and everything like that. But on a day-to-day basis, it's just all love. It's all love. But, there'll be some times where I'll try a behind-the-back pass or sometimes where I'll try an underhand one and he'll grill me a little bit. And it's all love, though, at the end of the day. And that's something that's really hard to come by in this business.
Yeah, that was on the Rich Eisen show. I think Rich went to Michigan as well. Harbaugh is authentic. He's different. He's a little intense, and he's a little awkward. He's authentic, and I think we should have to embrace that, or at least not have to. We should embrace it. He's just unique. He's not the classic salesman. You know.